lucky in the sense that we've got two visionaries in the band. We're both like poets, like Shelley or Byron, people like that. They're two totally distinct types of visionaries. It's like fire and ice, basically, you see. And I feel my role is to be kind of in the middle. That kind of like warm water.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 5-Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We're your hosts today, TJ, Zach, and Raj.
Hey there.
Hey.
Welcome back to another episode of the 5-Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. You guys can find us on Twitter at FHFH Hockey. You guys can join the Fantasy Hockey Discord. Always bumping. We got your weekend preview for you here today. Looking at Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Getting it out on a Thursday. Trying to help you guys out with those next day ads for Friday. And those of you that have same day ads, we're going to talk about Thursday too. So a little bit of an end of the week primer. Injuries, as always, lead the way. There's some storylines to talk about as well, but let's start off with the injuries.
All right. Torrey Krug, he left their game against the Caps after he was slashed by Nick Jensen in the second period. The penalty was across Krug's left wrist, which is where the injury is presumed to be. The Blues are already down Vladimir Tarasenko and Rob Thomas. So they're going to have to, mix things up. That's like a big part of their defense there. So going to have to figure out how they're going to make things work. Luckily, Tarasenko is out with an illness, so he should be back soon. Torrey Krug, we're going to have to see a little bit more because that's, it's probably his left hand, left wrist, something like that. Decent sized one here, Timo Meier. Luckily, he has no structural damage to his knee after their last game against Calgary, and he could actually possibly be in the lineup tomorrow night, tonight as you would see it. I think that's pretty hard to believe because it was almost like, they were thinking he could possibly be out for the rest of the year. And then all of a sudden he's going to be back on Thursday night, according to Budner.
Yeah, did not look good.
So just look prior to the game to see on his final status. On a side note here, Kaapo Kähkönen, that's actually the first start that we're going to see with him in a Sharks uniform. That's going to be against Edmonton, so it's going to be a fucking...
It's dicey.
It's going to be a fire sale real quick. We'll see how that goes.
Back to Torrey Krug before we move on. I noticed that Nick Leddy took over that top power play when Torrey Krug went down. Just for the rest of the game, maybe it was like an in-game adjustment real quick, but if it's something that Torrey Krug's out for a while, they like the way Nick Leddy looked up there. St. Louis having a pretty decent playoff schedule for most people out there. Nick Leddy could be worth checking out.
Troy Terry was questionable for today's game with the Flurryless Blackhawks, which is a hit for the Ducks already, who don't have, the greatest depth, especially after trading away somebody like Rickard Rakell.
And Ryan Kessler.
Yeah. Well, they tried to trade. They still have Ryan Kessler on their team. He's available.
He's going through the ringer, man.
They're just trying to move that contract, and I don't blame them.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, last up here is, and this is actually some good news, laced with a little bit of bad news, depending on what side you're on, but Sergei Bobrovsky will likely be back in the crease soon. But in the meantime, if he continues to be out for, any amount of games, and they actually have a decent schedule this weekend, whatever starter is out there is going to see 2 games at least. A 46% owned Spencer Knight. Dude, he is my number 1 0G option as long as he's playing and Bobrovsky is out.
Right. A lot of things going on in Florida. They're trying out 5 forwards on the power play with Duclair up there. And then the second look they were doing in practice had Weegar up there with Duclair down on the second. So Florida is definitely a team I'm going to be watching this weekend just to get a read on that. Let's talk about Evgeny Dadonov, because you were saying that the Ducks don't have the best depth, and it took a little hit because the Evgeny Dadonov drama has come to an end. They have ruled that the trade is no good. His no trade clause, his no trade list was submitted on time. Anaheim was on it, and he is back in the Vegas locker room after they paid to get rid of him.
It was still under the contract that he signed when he was in Ottawa, correct?
Yeah, there's fault all over the place here. Like, Vegas didn't ask explicitly to see the no trade list. Ottawa didn't offer it up, but then you also have, headquarters, right? The guys that are pushing all these trades through, they should have seen it too. So it's a little bit of a mess. It's a bit of a mess. This is brutal. So I guess he's back in the lineup.
apparently you can make trades after the trade deadline if the player doesn't play.
Right, yeah.
If Vegas is screwed, they need that cap space. They can't bring back Stone. They need so many guys they have to bring back. This is something Jeff Merrick threw out this morning. They could trade him to Arizona, and then he can just take the rest of the season off. And that frees up the cap space, and that's a legal trade after the trade deadline. So if they're totally screwed, they can sneak out of it. It just kind of makes the league look stupid, really.
Yeah, it's tricky. All I know is somebody didn't do their job correctly.
Yeah, it seems like quite a few people didn't. So let's talk some storylines, that being the first of a few here. Peter Mrazek back in net. Marc-Andre Fleury is back in Chicago tying up loose ends, so he won't get the start this weekend. That'll be Cam Talbot once again. We got a few questions here. First couple are from Hook and Scramble in the Discord. This is what he says. Sam Reinhart produced last year on a shit team after Hall was moved with Eichel out. Any players from selling teams that could step up and close the year hot? So what he wants to know is like just shit teams, plain spoiler. What players do you see making like the biggest impact, a la Sam Reinhart last year?
I would pick anybody from the Devils.
Yeah, Devils looking good.
As far as all of the people that are on the Devils that are available and score points all the time. They scored a bunch of points again, today. It seems to happen often that they're scoring 3, 4, 5 goals.
Severson's still pretty lowly owned. That power play dynamic is shifting a little bit. Dougie got back up onto the top power play, but he's sharing it.
Severson got a goal today.
There you go. That's basically what I'm looking at is, Severson's a really good pick. I think he's somebody that we could look at. Philly, don't see anybody there. The New York Islanders, Dobson's been red hot, but he's not exactly available. Anybody from Buffalo, Ottawa, Montreal, I think Drake Batherson's pretty sneaky.
If he's been dropped, then he'd be a great end of the season pickup here. And we've talked about a few times, and they're going to come up again today, but Arizona has lots of guys who are available. I'd expect a few of them to start cooling down around now, but there's definitely some guys that are gettable there.
Yeah. In reference to Drake Batherson, like at this point, he's probably stashed and not exactly available, but I think he's somebody that, is fully prepared to just take it out the rest of the way. He's 61% rostered. I do think he comes back with somewhat of a vengeance. Even though you're missing Thomas Chabot, I still think there's hope for that power play. And Batherson's just been too good.
Hell, think about it. When Josh Norris came back, he was immediately viable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one.
He came back hard. Well, and actually, 61%, that's
just go check territory.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a great idea because they've all been messed up with injuries on and off throughout the season, and they know they don't have a playoff, so they've got a month or two to play hard and try to get things figured out so that they can start next year strong. So I think that no pressure situation with everybody coming back, let's just have fun for a month. I think Batherson and looking at guys on Ottawa is a great idea.
Cole Caulfield in Montreal is another one that I think is super interesting. He had a pretty hot end of the year last year to go into this year, and I think that's something worth looking at. Tage Thompson in Buffalo. Buffalo's not doing jack, so Tage Thompson's somebody I'd look at there.
Cole Caulfield's been doing well too lately. Him and Suzuki are pouring it back on. Like they're getting back to like what they were. Why do they only play good at this time of the year?
So as a second part of the question from Hook and Scramble here, he says, what players being thought of as depth additions could be fantasy relevant given good deployment like Bennett last year? So I guess we're talking about trades that happened. Cal Yarncroke getting some top 6 time. Rickard Rakell, if he moves into some sort of bigger role than the third line. Brennan Hagel getting some top line looks.
That's the first one that came to my mind.
That's a big one. Andrew Kopp getting top line time kind of mixed in the game yesterday when New York was trying to catch up. So I don't know if that's an in-game adjustment that might not stick or if it's something that they're actually looking at. But those are two guys, like it's all deployment based here. Hagel's got the best chance if he sticks in the top 6. But I think just from the looks of it, he got one game on line 1. One game on line 2. They're trying to figure out what's going on here. And a couple of games from line 3. So,
and neither of those games, he got a lot of ice time. So let's see what happens with that too.
They're playing around with, they want to see what they got here, and they're trying to find chemistry on the fly. Columbus, is there anything worth talking about there. They shipped out Domi, so there's a little bit of reshuffling going on there. I don't know. I don't think so. All right, one from Grizz. And Zach, this is right up your alley, man. Bubble teams that turn it up and players that it affects. Conversely, teams that might coast the rest of the way, in danger of sitting people, maintenance days, undisclosed kind of day-to-day injuries, all shrouded in mystery to rest their guys. Something Grizz is wondering about. I think Vegas is a premier example. Dallas just hopped them yesterday in the standings. Edmonton is near the bottom. I think a lot of those guys have got to turn it up. LA in 6th place, which is really interesting. I think even though they might not be considered a bubble team, I still think they're pushing. That's a 3-way tie for 4th, actually. Minnesota, Nashville, Los Angeles, all with 78 points right now. Minnesota with like 3 and 4 games in hand on Nashville and LA, respectively. But, St. Louis, Colorado, Calgary at the top of the division in the West, Florida, Carolina, Pittsburgh, Toronto, top of the division in the East. I don't know that Toronto takes its foot off the pedal because they're probably jockeying for position. They want to choose their matchup, I imagine, going into it. Like right now they have Boston or Tampa Bay again. So that's not something I'd be excited about.
Yeah, that division's tough.
What do you think? Like what teams are really making a push here? Like the East is so set. So the 8 teams that are there is a 13-point gap to Columbus for any wild card action. So it seems like those 8 teams are pretty set in stone. I think the big teams are going to keep pushing, but maybe the bottom teams start to coast because Columbus, they're going to win 6 games in a row, and Washington needs to lose all of them just to get in the picture.
See, I think it's going to... I think that the Jets have a chance to make a push. They'd have to push real hard, but they're going to, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm looking at the Jets. I'm looking at the Stars, obviously. Edmonton, I think, is going to be a big one because they don't want to fall out. Now, the Golden Knights are going to be making a push, but the whole thing is you also have to ask yourself the same question. Do you trust that team? And me personally, I don't know that I trust the Golden Knights. I trust the Oilers more for a push. Not that they're going to get, fantastic goalie play or anything like that, because I really don't see that happening. It's teams like that. So it's the ones right on the fringe.
And I think you're right. It is a lot of the teams in the West. Like LA is going to keep pushing. Edmonton's going to keep pushing. Dallas, Vegas, Winnipeg, Vancouver, all in the mix there. So I like anybody in that range. Even Nashville is going to keep pushing at this rate. And they're scoring a fuck ton right now. It's just there's not a ton of availability. So I set my sights on LA because there's a lot of availability in fantasy there. Like you can go out and get a Victor Arvidsson who might be back next week. He joined the team and should be back pretty soon. Guys in Edmonton you might be able to look at. Those impact players are already rostered. Dallas, you're looking at depth. Vegas, you're looking at depth. Winnipeg, there could be something there. You could get in on I don't even know, to be honest. Vancouver, again, you're not making big pickups. So I'm looking at LA right now because I do think their best players are rostered, but I think there's a pretty big tier 2 on that team that are right around 40%. Talking Kempe, Arvidsson, even Iafallo. Not really Iafallo, but kind of. And Kaliev, if we're looking even deeper. And look at that D position. Power play 1's got to get chewed up by somebody. So you could hop on that, grab yourself a Dursey.
And we're talking probably the last roster spot or last 2 roster spots on your team. So these guys are going to end up getting swapped in and out anyways, too. So like we're talking about, in real life, teams aren't making changes to their big guns at this point because if you have a good team, those spots are filled. So I think it's the same on fantasy teams as well. If you're in the playoffs, guys that you're looking at replacing is just basically your streamer spot or 2 at this point. So whoever you find, I would try not to get too attached to them because that's probably your streamer spot. And that's more valuable than any one player, especially a 12th, 13th roster position player on your team. So if you find somebody, just remember that.
But this is also the time of year where you might be picking somebody up as a streamer and you end up having to hold because they are making that push.
The playoffs are next week for Brave Traveler, and he's wondering if he should save an ad or 2 for Sunday night when people who desperately need to make the playoffs start dropping good players to make room for a streamer. I think the answer is yes. You should 100% just to see, especially if you're already in the playoffs.
Yeah, this time of year, if you don't have to use all of them, then don't. Either that, or you can start using acquisitions for somebody that you're going to use starting Monday. Like on Wednesday, this is the player that I want for next Monday. I'm going to get him a while because I don't need him for the rest of this week.
The worst case scenario is pretty sweet too. So the worst case scenario being nobody drops anybody and you just go straight into the playoffs with the same team that got you there. So I don't hate it entirely.
Snap back to reality.
That's going to bring us into the weekend preview. Bunch of teams. How many teams did you say, Zach, that have this Friday, Sunday schedule? I think it was 13.
So we have on our schedule today, we're doing quick fucking round robin of 13 teams. 13 teams because 13 teams have pretty damn good schedules. I believe it's like 6 or 7 out of the 13 play on Friday, Sunday. They play 2 games, but it's both off nights. That's pretty fucking sweet, considering that Saturday is a 12-game day, and you're not really going to be looking to pick up, that might not be the day you're trying to stream somebody. That might be the day that you're sitting somebody on your bench. So those 2 off days are really nice, but then there's also a bunch of teams that play 3 games in 4 days, and some of those being 2 off nights on those 3 games. And I believe that is Philadelphia and Winnipeg. But for my brain's sake that needs to do everything in a certain manner, let's go alphabetical since there is so many of them.
Thursday has 10 games, Friday 5, and then Sunday's got 8. So it's right on that cusp. It's right on the verge of being an off night. So technically you could call it not an off night because 16 teams are playing, which is exactly half the league. Because I think there's going to be at least one spot that you can play with. Especially like right now it's playoff. Everybody's a fucking streamer on Sundays. Everybody. Go get that win. Sunday's an off night for the rest of the season. Every Sunday. Don't care if there's 18 games. Don't care.
Ooh.
So let's start it off with the Arizona Coyotes.
Okay, so Arizona is one of those teams that plays the 2 days with the 2 off nights. They're playing at Calgary and at Winnipeg on Friday and Sunday, respectively. I'm going Nick Schmaltz on this one. 47% owned. He, less than 50% owned. He's worth keeping around. I haven't dropped him, and I plan on holding him until he isn't viable. I will say, though, this is strictly in points leagues. But the fact is, he's just a really big part of what the Coyotes do offensively, defensively, everything. He even plays on the first PK unit. Like, he is literally used in every possible situation.
So I said it last episode about Nick Schmaltz here that he was scoring at Connor McDavid levels. And I thought it was a bit of like a hot take at first, but then I looked at it. It is fucking not. He is scoring this like very close to the same points per game since February started. It's insane. Yeah. Think about if fucking Connor McDavid was 47% rostered.
Connor McDavid.
What would you do?
Yeah.
Go get you some Nick Schmaltz at this point. Go get him. The difference here being if Connor McDavid goes 3 games without a point, you don't drop him. Nick Schmaltz, you might. So just keep that in mind. Nick Schmaltz is very much scoring at Connor McDavid levels right now, and he's available on half of waiver wires. So take a look.
I like Lawson Krause as well. He's still a point per game, and he has the added bonus of 3 or 4 hits a game as well.
Yeah, he's nuts.
So I like him.
He's nuts. You got guys like Clayton Keller, who's 70% rostered, who's still doing a bunch right now. Dyson Mayo is banging around a bunch if you're looking for late week bangs like that. Nick Ritchie doing the same thing and potting some offense while he's there. There's options here in the desert. Sabres, they got that Friday, Sunday too.
They do. The Sabres have a little tougher of a road, though. However, they're playing them at home against Washington and then at the New York Rangers. This one, I think, is a slam dunk because, just there's only one person in my mind that's even a hold on Buffalo, and that's a flimsy hold at that. And that's just because he is their best player, and that's Tage Thompson.
He really is.
He's only 54% owned, but He's the only guy that like even deserves a spot on my team.
Yeah.
Everybody else, yeah, I could see, maybe you throwing your hat into the ring on a Victor Olofsson who's only 7% owned, but that's just trying to get lucky and get some points. Tage Thompson is somebody that's, going to continue to do it.
Throw Jeff Skinner's name in the mix too. Might as well.
No. You can bring him up. It just won't be me. That's all.
Just for peace of mind.
He shoots.
Tage Thompson, try eligible. You said he was fucking huge when you saw him the other night.
God, is he huge. Dude, like I said, he made Tyler Myers look small, standing side by side.
6'7", 220. Tage Thompson is huge.
Yeah, he shoots a heck of a lot. He surprisingly doesn't get credited with many hits. I swear, when I watched them play live the other night, he was smashing everybody everywhere, and he was credited with 0 hits in that game. So I don't know how hits work anymore, but
each team records it by themselves. It's not like a league thing. It's a team dependent thing. Okay. Colorado Avalanche, we covered pretty mightily in our week preview. Just reiterate, Valerian Nichushkin is the pick.
Yeah.
I think that's the cut and dried.
He is taken to like a fish to water on that top line. 3 goals and 2 assists since getting moved up.
46% rostered. He is available in half leagues. Andre Burakovsky is worth a check. Eric Johnson from Bangs. Moving on. Detroit. They don't have the Friday, but they got 3 games in 4 nights.
they got a really interesting just go check option that has creeped in too. In Lucas Raymond is only 51% rostered.
Is he slowing down or something? He's got to be.
He's got 7 goals in the last 12 games, so his goals per game are still up there. He did have a little lull, but he definitely hasn't fallen completely out. And as you were talking about earlier towards that question, Detroit's another one of those teams where they're not disappointed that they suck. They know they suck. Remember, I think it was 2 seasons ago, Larkin and them just finished so unbelievably strong because of that. We don't give a shit. We're just going to play the season out because we know we got summer in like 4 weeks, so we can just give her. I think you might see that happen again, and I'm very surprised to see he's down to 51% rostered.
Don't start shit, won't be shit. And they didn't start shit, so it won't be shit either. But I still like Jakub Vrana, though, too. Jakub Vrana, he's back. 23% owned.
5 goals since coming back, yeah.
Now he's only played 7 games, but he has 5 points, and they're all goals. He has 0 fucking assists. 5 goals, 0 assists, 7 games.
How about Moritz Seider? He's
awesome.
I know we're not picking him
awesome.
up, but he is fucking good, man. He is so good. He is so good. He made fools of the Flyers the other night. Just God.
Did you see? There's a clip going around, a GIF that he makes a pass and then levels a guy one arm, just complete, and he's a friggin' rookie.
He's a truck. He looks more comfortable in the league than veterans.
Just
do
love
sometimes.
him.
Like he is fucking born for it. Oh man, he is fun to watch. Fun to watch. All right, Florida Panthers. We talked about them a little bit too, but let's rehash. Who do you like here? Top line, Verhaeghe. Staying up there with Barkov and Giroux. What say you, Zach? Is he your pick?
My pick is Anthony Duclair. I'm sticking with Duke, man. Put up your Dukes. Put your Dukes up. I like him because he got to stay on that top power play. That's why I'm picking Duclair here for now.
We will see. We will see because we don't know what they're doing. Yeah, so they're either going 5 forwards with Duclair or they're going with Uyghur instead of Duclair. So that remains to be seen at this point.
I was also impressed with Anthony Duclair because I made fun of him for only ever shooting 3 shots per game or 3 shots on goal. And then boom, motherfucker came out, shot 5 shots on goal. So I had to give him a shout out here. I had to.
Another team with Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. But man, is it pretty. Montreal, Ottawa, then Toronto. And we don't know if it's going to be Shalgren. We hope it's going to be Mrazek, but who knows? Like from the Florida standpoint, we do.
Either way. Dude, I think Florida has like 12 rosterable players in fantasy.
The pick from the Florida Panthers is Spencer Knight, 46% rostered. Would you rather have Spencer Knight or Anthony Duclair? Like if you could only pick one.
I've already brought up Spencer
That's
Knight.
not my question. Spencer Knight or Anthony Duclair?
Spencer Knight. I already told you he is my number 1 0G option.
Yeah, the back-to-back, it's either Ottawa or Toronto. Probably going to be Ottawa. That's pretty comfy. I like it. Minnesota Wild. Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Again, no Friday. So 3 games. Who do you like from the Minnesota Wild?
For pick-upable guys on that team, I like Foligno.
Got to.
I mean, they haven't been scoring a ton as a team, like other than their top couple guys, but I think the Wild are going to be pretty darn excited. I know the Flower's not in this game. I believe he's still crossing the border or something like that, doing some kind of shit.
Nah, he's packing up in Chicago. He's doing family stuff.
I think Minnesota's another team that's going to be pretty sweet for the next bit. I like Foligno, and I think he's the type of guy who will play his best hockey in the last 20 games of the season. I
personally think this is a pretty decent time to bring up Matt Boldy. I mean, we talked about him a little bit ago. He had since died down. He's down to 23% owned, but I feel like this is the perfect time to grab him. He's going into a good weekend schedule, and even though he's slowed down a bit, which has seen his ownership drop, his deployment is still going to be good. I'm in on Matt Boldy, still am, and I'm perfectly fine with picking him up.
I like some of these bangers, man. There's a little more flexibility in my D-core than there is my forward core. So maybe like Jacob Middleton, newly acquired, is on the first pairing with Jared Spurgeon. So I go for him for bangs. And Delorier.
Dude,
man,
he did.
Is he fun on the Wild? Scored in his first game, and he bangs. Montreal Canadiens. Who do you dig?
I'm going to take Josh Anderson on this one. I'm going to take top line, top power play, Josh Anderson. And like we said earlier, with Caulfield and Suzuki coming back and playing well, Anderson, stands to get some assists. He still has the ability to score on his own. We've seen Josh Anderson score 4 goals in a game. He is capable of doing it. Now, he is big on like breakaways and power moves and stuff like that, but he's Josh Anderson. He's gonna bang. He's gonna get points. Like, I like him on that top line, top power play. If he sticks up there for any amount of time,
he shoots,
especially the weekend. Fuck yeah, I'm down.
Petrie's banging again. Cole Caulfield is only 64% rostered and has 17 points in his last 13 games. So go check it out. Looks
like Weidman's sucking up the power play there.
Yeah, power play 1 for Weidman. He's got 6 assists. 5 of them are on the power play in the last 13 games. So not bad. He's just not banging around.
No, as you kind of half jokingly, but mostly not. Rem Pitlick is still there. 2%.
Yep. 11 points in his last 13 games.
Feel good story of the year right there.
New York Islanders. Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. They have I like the Thursday game, but Saturday, Sunday is kind of weak. Boston and Tampa. That's tough.
That hurts.
That's tough. Anybody worth actually looking at here? I feel like the Friday, Sunday is what we should focus on. Most of our energy.
I like Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson has 3 points in each of his last 2 games.
Okay.
He shoots well at around 3 per game. He's going to help you a little bit on hits, a little bit on blocks. He's on that second line, top power play. I like Brock Nelson here. 33%. Boom.
Done deal. Center only. Heavy nights. I like it for Sunday. Sunday streamer.
If you were looking for a D specifically for peripherals, Pulock, if you need blocks in that back-to-back.
Poo block.
There's going to be a lot of shots to be blocked against Tampa, and so I think he could be
looking for D.
If you specifically need that, he could be good. Otherwise, he is not good.
Ryan Poo block. He's blocking.
I don't know if that's a good name. I don't know if that's a good nickname.
Yeah. Anyway, the New York Rangers. Andrew Kopp is pretty interesting on that top line, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Andrew Kopp on that line could be really interesting
if it sticks.
Do you think it's gonna though?
If it sticks, it's pretty fucking interesting.
We'll see.
It might. It very well could. Like, who did they have up there before? They had Lafreniere, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually who I like. I like Lafreniere.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know, man. he's not been so great.
What do you? He's on a 4-point or a 4-game point streak. Not so great. He's doing just fine as of recently. He's doing okay.
All right, I'll give him that. I would rather Andrew Kopp right now.
If they could get away with Kopp being up there, then putting Lafreniere down on the third line, maybe with Kako, they can get a little bit more offense on their third. But we were talking about the Rangers a little bit last episode because of all their pickups. And I mean, we kind of talked about how Kopp and Frankie V and a few of these guys are probably going to shuffle around over the next few games because they have so many options. Again, like I'm just looking at this roster and it takes a lot to get me to like the Rangers, and I kind of like this. I kind of like what I'm seeing here, no matter how they shuffle it.
I kind of like the Rangers too when it comes specifically to fantasy, but otherwise I hate the fucking Rangers.
Yeah. Yeah, it hurts, but
Is there anything to talk about in Philadelphia?
Yes.
Is
No,
it Risto?
it's the next coming, which is Joel Frisbee.
Yeah, I guess he is doing pretty well.
I don't understand why people aren't in on Joel Farabee. Joel Farabee is really good. He has multi-point games in 3 of his last 4. And I think next year he is going to be the main scoring threat. All seriousness.
Write it down.
Write it down.
Put it in pen.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Joel Farabee is the future of that team. Right now, 15% owned. And he is worth owning right now. Like I said, 3 games out of 4 in the last 4 multi-point games. It's not a coincidence.
Any interest in Owen Tippett?
I am more interested in Hayes if I'm looking for another option. That's just me personally. And Kevin Hayes is only 7% owned, and I'm pretty sure he had 2 or 3 points last game as well. I'm not positive, but it was something like that.
I like Risto. Give me Risto for the Bangs. Thursday, Friday, Sunday. So this is a team that does have that Friday, Sunday. So do the New York Rangers, who we just talked about. Next up is the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have Friday, Sunday. 2 games, 2 off nights. Not so bad. The New York Rangers and Detroit. So pretty good matchups. Let's wait and see what that New York game looks like. Sometimes they're high-scoring games, so I don't mind the New York. Shesterkin's hard to play against, but there's some options here. What do you think? Is like line 1 Evan Rodriguez, Kasperi Kapanen, Rickard Rakell?
My pick is Evan Rodriguez. I'm not super high on, I don't know how Rickard Rakell is going to do slotting in. He hasn't played in a little while. He has to get used to that system. I'm not really sure how Rickard Rakell is going to start out. I trust Evan Rodriguez being on that top line. He was even doing decent when he was a third line guy. So put him on the first line with great deployment and 3+ shots per game. That's enticing.
Yeah, I think Evan Rodriguez is the answer there.
yeah, he's dropped way down. Yeah, he's definitely the go-to. That kind of broke my heart when I heard Berkey say that they fully intended on Rakell being on the third line. They did hint that if the power play is not working, he's going to be the next man in on the power play, which is kind of promising. But then when you see who's on the power play and the chances of it not working, it's tough. It's tough to crack that PP1 in Pittsburgh. So I'm holding on to my Rakells since I got all of them, but I'm I'm not too stoked actually on him. 2 games, nothing so far.
Tampa Bay. Is it Brandon Hagel?
That's who I have.
Yeah.
At only 11% owned, it seems like it's worth a look. I know he's not getting the time on ice right now, but I'm interested.
Oh, yeah, that's my problem is he got 10 minutes in his first game, 12 minutes in his second. Yeah, and he has 1 shot between the 2 games and 1 hit.
But he's a guy that's used to seeing like 18, 19, 20 minutes a game. Like, that's nothing for him. So I think they're just kind of testing the waters out. And the dam is going to break, man. The dam is going to break. And if he is on that second line with Braden Point, then I'm hoping it's going to break sooner rather than later.
Didn't they do this same shit with Alexander Volkov? Am I thinking of the right guy? Like, they had him on paper, he was on the top line, but every other shift, he wouldn't play. They were double shifting other guys on that top line and not Volkov. That I'm getting some Hagel vibes on that one. Like, you're looking at him on the top line, but then he has 12 minutes. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't work very well. I mean, they paid a fair chunk to get him, so I think
Yeah, so I don't think they're just going to automatically bury him.
You'd like to think it's going to pick up a little bit. I mean, one thing that they might have, they played the Rangers and Carolina, so a couple of really tough games. I don't know, maybe as time eases in, if his time starts picking up, then he's viable, but it's tough to like him at 12.5.
Oh, well, it's worth a shot.
I'm in to take a look. I am. I'm in to take a look at it.
Watch list.
I'm not touching him Thursday or Saturday. Yeah, watch list until Sunday. If the waiver wire is depleted on Sunday and he's still in the top 6, that seems viable for sure. Winnipeg Jets, last one to close this out here Thursday. Then they do have the Friday, Sunday. 3 games, 4 nights, 2 off nights. Ottawa, Columbus, Arizona.
Whoa.
Yeah, you can leave that in if you want. I don't give a shit. Arizona.
Winnipeg.
They're ugly to pick from, but who do you like?
This is where I'm looking for D.
Josh Morrissey?
I'm looking for D in Winnipeg. I'm looking for D like an ex-girlfriend, man. You got to destroy yourself, bitch. Yes, I am looking at Josh Morrissey at 55% owned. Dude, Josh Morrissey takes a ton of shots. Are you guys aware of this? Josh Morrissey takes a shit ton of shots for a defenseman.
Quite a few.
They are going to be a team that's pushing. So you got shots, you got hits, you got some blocks, and a good chance at points.
Power play 1.
I like that equation. Josh Morrissey.
Available.
That is my answer here. Flat out.
The league I'm looking at right now, I actually own Josh Morrissey.
Sound like a smart man, Raj.
I am smart on paper, and that's the problem with Josh Morrissey. He always gets these situations, but then you look at the results, and the results are 3 points in the last 7, 6 points in his last 15. 3 shots a game is fine, but
he's not producing.
He never produces. He gets the deployment, and it should work, and it just never works that great. But we'll see what happens. I guess I got to hold on to him here, but
with Scheifele and the rest of them turning it on, Connor hasn't been like super there as of late. Connor started turning it on. The rest of the team will too.
What the fuck are you talking about? He's on pace for his first 100-point season, and he ain't getting shit for airtime. Kyle Connor's having a fuck of a year. A really good year. I'm not going to let you badmouth Kyle Connor right now. He's on pace for 100 points, okay?
I mean, he's their best player. He needs to play like it.
He really is. PLD sucks.
He does. That used to be your guy, man.
Yeah, I liked him in Columbus a little bit better.
That used to be your guy.
I would agree. Svechnikov, any interest in that one? He's back in the top 6 now that Kopp is gone. Winnipeg's so fucking weird, man. They were selling and they were buying. Like, they got Zach Sanford and they shipped out Andrew Kopp. Like, what a weird fucking trade deadline for them. Weird. I don't know where they stand.
Winnipeg's a mess. Absolute mess outside of Kyle Connor.
And Ehlers. Ehlers got 3 goals in his last 3 games. Not bad. 14 shots in there, too. He's close to 5 shots a game. Let him get it.
I think in the offseason, Kyle Connor, Ehlers, and Hellebuck, and everyone else can go.
Scheifele?
Trade something to get something. Yeah, man.
All right, if you guys had to pick one guy out of this monstrous list that we discussed tonight, who would it be?
Evan Rodriguez.
Well, that's a good one.
Definitely Evan Rodriguez if he's going to be top line. 100%.
Nick Schmaltz.
I'm going to go with Valerie Nichushkin.
Those were the 2 I was debating between, but
those are also the 2 that I was debating against. But I like the Avalanche schedule playing against Philly and Minnesota as opposed to Calgary and Winnipeg. Even though Hellebuck did just have a shutout and like a big one, like a 42 save shutout or something like that. Prior to that, he's been giving up 4 goals a fucking game. So
they're an enigma right now.
Yeah, so I could see Arizona actually scoring a lot of points. So I do like Nick Schmaltz, but still, I gotta take Chooch.
There is the spread, boys. That's it for the weekend preview. We're gonna get you guys back on Sunday for the week preview. And until then, you guys can find us on Twitter at FHF Hockey, and we'll catch you around. Love yous.
Love you.
Love yous.